Tom Shircliff and Rob Murchison have been part of Realcomm for as long as I can remember, and we love having them every year, mainly for the breadth and depth of knowledge and strategy that they offer. So join me in welcoming them to Conference Live. Hello.
How do we follow that?
I don't know. Hey, Tom, good to see you.
Great to see you.
Pleasure.
Hey there.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Doing great. How you doing?
Awesome, awesome. Welcome on to Conference Live. What's been exciting so far about the conference to you guys?
I'll tell you my most exciting moment so far is there was an analytics session.
Okay.
I guess it was 11 o'clock this morning, and I went over there because it's talk about analytics companies. There was a line out the door.
A line out the door for analytics.
Out the door. I mean, they were opening doors. I thought the fire marshal was going to show up because they had too many people.
Well, this is the year of. Do we want to move up his microphone? Turn it on. Oh, it's not on. So what Rob just shared is that there was a line out the door for an analytics talk this morning. This is the year of big data.
Yeah.
The year that everyone's talking about. Why is it? You know, it's not like this data wasn't here before.
Nope.
But for some reason, we're so excited by it. Instead of looking like a big pain in the butt, it looks like a huge opportunity. What's changed?
Well, I think the marketplace is smarter than any one individual. And we have a couple of dynamics happening. First and foremost, energy costs continue to rise. And second, you are seeing more and more of, let's say, the chief sustainability officers. And they're trying to figure out inside these organizations how they're going to hit these goals.
Yeah.
And they're saying, gosh, I need to be able to do that. I need data to be able to do that. How am I going to get to that data and analyze it?
It's also a lot more accessible. I mean, the basic building technology, the service providers that are available, and the strategies that can be put together, it's just a lot more doable than it used to be.
So what are we going to do with all this data that we now have at our fingertips? What's the strategy and where's the low-hanging fruit?
Go ahead. I'll just say, well, it really, there are two answers to that. One is what he's about to say, but the other one is to be able to was that courteous?
Yes. And maybe overly generous.
Is that the data can be also backwards looking. So being able to get and start collecting the data is useful even if you're not certain what you're going to do with it.
Right.
So there's a lot of lessons you can learn from history in addition to going forward.
That's a great point. So even if you're just thinking, God, I don't know what the strategic move is, but at least I should start to harvest what I need to know.
Right. Data harvesting, in fact, is the term that we use.
Yeah.
The buildings are generators of data, and we want to be able to harvest that data. And the beauty of big data is that versus traditional structured data systems is that you don't have to know exactly what you're going to do with it. Because there's a very low cost at doing the harvesting, and you can then, as you find patterns in that data, you can pull in different components that you've already been harvesting to make those better decisions.
So let's say we don't know what we're going to do with it. Where are some of the easy leverage places to begin to think that we know? I mean, you got this stuff built up, you've got 3 months, 6 months, a year's worth of big data. Now, where would you start to look to make some small but incremental changes?
A lot of times you find, at the most basic level, irregularities.
Okay.
Spikes in energy usage or something in your building control system that's just out of the norm. And so if you just rely on a utility bill, you're looking 45, 60 days backwards, and that's just not as useful as the real-time information.
Right. What are some of the applications that you guys are seeing that help companies do that? What are some of the more effective ones?
From a data analytics perspective? Well, I mean, I think what we talked about last year and even this year, you're seeing just the energy fault detection industry segment really growing. And that's in addition to a line out the door, as Rob said, for the analytics session like that, there are a lot of new faces here, a lot of new providers, and a lot of people here to look into that. Yeah. So I think the energy fault detection is sort of the quickest, most understandable thing to do with data.
And I would like to also emphasize that the technology has emerged, and the growth, just looking out here on the floor, there are a dozen people that I see that are represent analytics companies, and I can see 6 or 7 booths that are just analytics organizations. The technology has emerged. I would encourage people to also understand that just the technology is not the answer. It has to be combined with people and processes and other things that are around that to get those true savings. So to just get the technology out of the building is a good thing, and it can get done, but you have to develop methodologies, and most importantly, and this sounds really simple, back to your earlier point, is that you need to establish goals as to what you're trying to accomplish. Because what will happen in a lot of cases is that it can just become technology for technology's sake, and you have to have goals that become the metrics for how you're going to succeed.
And that's really, also, we're at an inflection point of changing the way buildings are run. From a people perspective and a process perspective, the technology enables that, but it doesn't do anything by itself.
Right. How do you guys at Intelligent Buildings help people with these issues?
Probably the most valuable thing that we've been able to do is develop simple methodologies to be able to match the building or owner profile to the right solution. And because even a year or two ago, there was a lot of debate on which analytic solution is better. And what we've determined is it's not about which one's better, it's about which one is the right profile for the customer profile.
Right, exactly. So one for a smaller, one for a larger, one for a, depending on what kind of...
If you just want it, there are organizations that just want to be able to get energy savings. There are organizations that want to get true operational savings. There are organizations that want to impact how their tenants behave in the building as well. Yeah. And those are different solutions that require different skill sets and require different people and processes and technologies and so forth. And the time horizon on the returns can lengthen depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
And even internal requirements. Some companies require that all the data sits in their data center. Some companies have nobody to deal with it. So those two examples would indicate one would want to get a software program where another one would want to get a full service approach, and neither solution would be good for the other.
What does Intelligent Buildings do to help? And by that, I guess, I mean, can you tell me about a story that you're particularly glad about that happened in the last year? I mean, something that you guys have really...
Well, I think the one we're the proudest of is GSA Link, where we have overseen the development of a strategy and are now helping to program manage the rollout of analytics across the GSA's 1,500 owned buildings. And I think our proudest moment of the last year, if you will, is working with government and several other partners. We've been able to, including ESI and Sky Foundry and IBM and Tritium, we have been able to take 50 buildings and harvest the data from those 50 buildings. In the course of 1 year, we've gone from 0 to collecting 30 million points of data a day in 1 year.
That is kind of amazing.
It's amazing in the government context.
Incredible. Now, have we been able to take that data and strategically leverage it to create an effect? And if so, what's the effect?
So the effect is that we are now the solution recently turned on.
Okay.
So just the last week, we are getting over 8,000 faults across that portfolio of data that we are converting, looking at patterns, and now we're able to now go through the people and the process component to prioritize which of those faults the people will now go fix.
And one of the best parts about those numbers that Rob's talking about is this is being done obviously at scale. So it has been a help to the industry at large to see it done at scale and proven out.
Wow, it's quite a coup that you were able to do that. The government loathed usually to take on sort of risky change. What was the key to getting that through?
Well, we understand the stereotype, but we should note, though, in this case, that there were some real leaders and risk takers in the government.
Right.
And so
the head of the GSA here 2 years ago as well, and has always been linked very much to Realcomm as an organization.
That's right. And Frank Santella from the GSA is here this year and speaking and communicating with a lot of people. So,
yes.
So we can provide the framework and the strategy, but as Rob said, the people really have to lead in the organization and be able to execute.
But somehow you must have woven some kind of presentational magic that made them just kind of swallow the medicine and go, we're going to do this in a big way.
Well, it's about setting goals. I mean, I said this earlier, and it seems really simple, but in the case of the GSA, they had energy goals, and they had sustainability goals that were set by presidential executive orders, and that sort of set the bar as to what needs to be accomplished. and became the filter for how we would go do things. And then you combine that with leadership inside of government that was willing to take risk.
And that's true in corporate or commercial or institutional real estate too, is that nobody really wants to do analytics for analytics' sake. As Rob said, in the government and in other cases, you've got to connect it to your highest corporate goals. And once you make that connection, then the organization will follow. It's a lot easier.
What would you guys say is the key? I mean, if you had to look at a company and say the key to employing real estate technology effectively, to gaining the most amount of benefit from it, to really realizing its potential, what is it?
I think just short of that potential is that we have reached another point where there is a higher risk of doing nothing different.
Yes.
So it used to be, even at Realcomm, 5-6 years ago, it was trying to urge and encourage the industry to do something progressive,
yes,
and forward-looking. And now we've gotten to the point where doing business the old way is a risk in itself.
Wow. Is there one word that you're taking from the conference? If there was, every conference kind of has a headline. What's this year's opportunity word? Where is the opportunity out there for a strategic thinker to really take advantage of the landscape?
I think really it's just as simple as act. And one of the worst things for this conference or any other is when folks go and get educated and have fun and then go home and do things differently. I mean, do things the same as they were. Identify who you are and find some nugget.
Yes.
And then go back and act next week. And I think we're seeing that, we're feeling that.
And there's not one size fits all.
Sure.
But there is a ability to have data-driven decisions across your portfolio or across a single building that you should not ignore. What strikes me is in the general session yesterday, we talked about the one word. I think someone mentioned ignorance, and we no longer can have ignorance.
Yes.
When it comes to a portfolio of buildings, you can no longer be ignorant about everything that's going in there because the data is just too darn cheap to harvest.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to take advantage of that.
Fantastic, guys! Thank you so much for putting pretty much what we're putting the whole conference into context. Is there anything else we should be looking out for you guys from Intelligent Buildings?
Well, I think some of the exciting things you'll see from us in the coming years is that we are working with several large-scale portfolios, and they take a while, if you will, to take from strategy to turning them on to getting results. And we're moving them fast.
Yep.
And I think next year at this time, not only will we be talking about the deployment of these types of solutions, we'll be able to show real long-term results, and that I think will drive the entire industry and accelerate that even more.
I think one companion thought of that is that we're really working hard to develop very simple step-by-step methodology. So it really has proven itself out in the ones that we described today and others, and really a step-by-step process we think is really great for the industry, and we're spending a lot of time on that.
Fabulous. Guys, thank you so much for coming on and talking.
Thank you. Thank you
Rob
very much.
Murchison, sure. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank
and we'll see you guys later on today in the conference hall.